Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Nasser El-Tibi, and his guests.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's the last session of the last day. You might be a bit tired, but this session is interesting. So I implore you, please have a seat and let's kickstart this session. Lunch will be served afterwards, so hot lunch, so you'll get a chance to relax afterwards. All right. It takes visionary investors to ensure that groundbreaking technologies, which might take many years to develop and which always comes with a hefty research price tag, does end up seeing the light. That's why patient capital is so crucial to our future, but too often lacking in our innovation ecosystems. But the unprecedented sheer size of the SoftBank Vision Fund marks a fundamental shift in global technology investments. By enabling access to new levels of capital, the Vision Fund and others like it are driving opportunities in underserved markets, reimagining the relationship between investors and entrepreneurs, and accelerating the pace of innovation. But what are the long-term consequences of providing patient capital to disruptors? Does that enable them to scale up faster than ever before? And how are mega funds fostering collaboration across myriad portfolio companies? And how does that rewrite the tech investment playbook? I'm very privileged to have the esteemed panel here. Let me introduce them to you quickly. At the far left over there, not in terms of political affiliations, maybe. Mr. Manish Varma, partner at SoftBank Investment Advisors. Right after and to his right is Michael Mark, CEO of Katera. Mish'al Harasani, Saudi inventor and advisor at King Abdulaziz University. And right here to my left is Mr. Ritesh Agarwal, the CEO of Oyo Hotels. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Let me start with you, Manish. What is the philosophy that underlies the Vision Fund? What's the thesis that underlies it all?
Sure. So look, first of all, thank you for having me on the panel, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me here. Delight and privilege and a pleasure to be here. So I'll tell you, tech investing has changed and is changing, right? And there are a few things that are causing this to occur. So let's spend a couple of minutes going through what are the big three themes or the three trends that we see. One is that in the last few years, there's a massive amount of data that's being generated in the world. There's a proliferation of data through Internet of Things, other connected devices. And with the advent of cheap computing power, it's become much easier to analyze that data. You can have structured data lakes, you can cleanse the data, you can extract value from it. As a consequence, lots of data, cheap computing power, better analysis, has led to the rise of machine learning, artificial intelligence in almost every single industry. And we no longer think of machine learning or artificial intelligence as a vertical, but rather it's a horizontal that's going across industries. So what does that mean for businesses? It means businesses, industries are changing very rapidly. Businesses, industries are getting transformed, getting disrupted with the advent of technology that is allowing people to create new solutions using tech. And two of our panelists from Katera and Oyo Rooms, industries of real estate and hospitality, which traditionally might not have been thought of as cutting-edge tech industries, but both these companies and their founders will tell you how they're using tech to fundamentally transform how business is done in their industry.
And these are businesses that you've invested in.
And these are businesses that we've invested in, right? So we're looking for businesses that are using tech to fundamentally alter, transform, change how their industries are being run for the betterment of people, right? The third thing, big trend that we're seeing is that companies have to scale faster. There is, like I said, there's cheap computing power, so you can start a business, you can start a company, but there is competition, and you've got to be able to scale and grow faster. What that means is it means two things. One, you need patient long-term capital to be able to allow you to scale out of your existing market into new markets. And you need patient capital because it takes time. You cannot chase short-term profitability Rather, you have to look out into the future and chase longer-term revenue and sticky revenue at that. And the second thing that you need is a network or an ecosystem that will allow you to expand globally quicker. So it's the confluence of these three factors, right? There's data, there's speed of transformation, and there's an ecosystem and scalability issues that have changed sort of tech investing. And Vision Fund that's a new approach to investing, and that's why the Vision Fund exists. And one other point, when we're looking at companies to invest in, or what's our investment thesis, we are looking for businesses that fundamentally will sort of tackle in the future important challenges for society. And that could be in fields that are as diverse but equally important. It could be housing, it's education, it's healthcare, it's renewable energy. These are all industries that impact our daily lives, and we're looking for companies, founders, entrepreneurs that have a belief, a vision, and a passion that can use tech to fundamentally change, disrupt, and make it better for the common consumer of these goods and services.
I'm going to be asking you later on, Manish, to give us some insight into your investment process, what types of companies you look for. But I'm going to come to you, Ritesh. Your business wants to give travelers a different hospitality options. Explain to us why. Do you see that there are some dislocations in the hospitality markets, and how are you going to go about changing that?
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. LTB, for having me here. I think before I begin, I might take the opportunity to introduce myself and our company. Hi, I'm Ritesh. I started the company roughly 4 years back. When I was 19 years old, I had the opportunity to get paid by Peter Thiel on a lighter note, $100,000 to drop out of university. Peter Thiel was a founder of PayPal, early investor in Facebook, and so on. I was the first Asian resident to be a Thiel fellow. But Oyo
So you're
Hotels,
23 years old now.
24.
24. There we go.
So that said, Oyo Hotels today is the largest hotel chain in South Asia, fourth largest in China, and fast growing as the world's largest hotel chain, opening over 60,000 leased or franchised keys worldwide every month. So
Every month, ladies and gentlemen.
So to be honest, we are like one more. Shukran.
At the age of 24.
He's turning 25 next month.
Okay, all right.
Munish keeps a tab on that. So with that, I think, we are a traditional hotel chain, but the secret sauce about our company is we see the world slightly differently. If you see hotel chains worldwide, they're all 100 rooms or larger, whether it is Accor, Holiday Inn with the Intercontinental Hotel Group, or so on. But what's fascinating is 85% to 95% of the world assets are 100 rooms and smaller.
85%.
Yeah, or more. So there is 180 million unbranded hotel rooms worldwide that nobody knows how to franchise or lease and run profitably. And we are the only guys that know how to do it. So suddenly the 300,000 keys we manage, which was looking very big, now looks very small. And that's the aspiration or opportunity that we have. And this is a problem that exists worldwide, whether it is the Paddington in London, whether it is the airport area in Delhi, whether it is Xi'an in China, or whether it is Aba in Saudi Arabia. Everywhere, majority of the assets are small, and getting a good quality living space at the right price point is a big problem. We hope to go and renovate all of them, create better living spaces, and help the neighborhood hotel beat the big boys in the same city. So that's what we do.
And I'm going to come back to you to tell us more about that process, because that's a big process, from refurbishing the real estate itself, the property, all the way to the customer. So I'm going to talk about the A to Z customer journey, but I'm moving on to you, Mark. Michael, Katera designs and builds off-site prefabricated homes in robot-run factories. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Should we define you as a construction company or a technology company? Tell us more about your business model.
Well, it would be easy to say that we're a technology company, but the reality is we're both. Also, thank you for having me on the panel. Following up to what Manish said, we're one of these businesses that technology has an opportunity to transform because technology hasn't been applied to the business. And what the Vision Fund is doing is supplying capital to people like us who are looking at all these businesses. There's financial services, healthcare, construction, hotels, all these different things that the normal, I shouldn't say normal, the technology tools that are available haven't been used in these industries. So you're talking about robotics, artificial intelligence, software development, so on. A lot of sensor technologies now to tell what's happening with movements and so on. And we're applying those tools to an industry that just never did. Actually, it's an interesting statistic. The construction industry spends less % of revenue on technology initiatives in any industry in the world except for one. If we were in a smaller group, I'd say, guess which one that is, but I'll tell you, it's agriculture. So agriculture and construction are at the very bottom end of industries that invest in technology.
Why is that, do you think?
I think that, well, I don't know, actually. I can tell you in construction. In construction, and it kind of goes to what we are, construction industry is broken up in all kinds of little silos. You have architects who design a building, then they hand the designs over to engineers who over-engineer everything because they don't pay for it, and there's no benefit to them to under-engineer it. And then it goes to general contractors and subcontractors. In that whole system, they're relatively small companies, and they all operate on cost plus. And so there's no drive to be efficient. There's no reason to invest, because if they lower the costs, they lower their margin dollars. So we come along and we go, let's collapse all that. So we are the architects, we're the engineers, we're the general contractors, subcontractors, we do it all. And we treat construction, excuse me, we treat construction as a manufacturing problem. Global supply chain, factories with robotics, assembly on the site. And so we're just dramatically changing the way that all works, and it's a huge opportunity.
Okay, moving on to Mish'al. Mish'al will be speaking in Arabic, so for non-Arabic speakers, you might want to reach to your headsets for instant interpretation. Mish'al, you had an experience with innovation here in Saudi Arabia. Tell us about it as a young innovator.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بديت مجال الابتكار وعالم الابتكار لما كان عمري 13 سنة، طفل في عام 2000. كنت أعمل مع الأطفال ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة. كنت أواجه صعوبة في التواصل معهم، فابتكرت ابتكارات بسيطة تسهل عملية التواصل مع الأطفال ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة. تعلمت منهم الإصرار والمثابرة والتحدي، وتعلمت منهم أن الإعاقة هي ليست إعاقة الجسد بل هي إعاقة العقول. شغفي وحبي في مجال الابتكار سمح لي أن أنا أخذ دورات متقدمة في
mental disability physical disability doesn't mean mental disability. And thanks to Allah, I have about more than 50 inventions in different spheres. Some people may think that this figure is big, but I am one of the thousands of inventors in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the government does support us and supports our patent. So we have a room for innovation, and we can innovate. Everyone can innovate in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Be allowed that.
You told us about the underlying thesis of the Vision Fund. Take us through the investment process, because you target companies that are late stage. What other features that you look for in companies? So if we have some entrepreneurs here that are looking to be financed by Vision Fund, what are the category? What are the criteria?
So look, as you mentioned, we are late stage growth investors. We are not early stage venture capital guys. We're a late stage growth fund. We're looking for companies that have established proof of concept, that have established some form of escape velocity for whatever product or service they're offering. But fundamentally so that's from a technical point of view, but fundamentally what we look for companies that are using tech to transform, disrupt industries, businesses, and that are led by very strong and visionary management teams. whose management vision and vision for the future aligns with ours. As you mentioned in your sort of opening remarks, we have long-term capital, we are long-term patient investors, so we want to align ourselves with management teams that have the vision, that have the courage and the energy to think big, to dream big, to think outside of the box and use tech as a way and use technology as a way to come up with new solutions for a lot of the problems that impact society and impact our daily life. So that's what fast-growing companies, tech-enabled, driven by tech, and very strong and bold management teams.
Okay. I want to know how much money you guys raised. So, Ritesh, how much money have you raised since inception?
So, the company has, as we speak, raised close to 1.5 billion US dollars, but we haven't
in
the span of 5 years. But we haven't done a good job of deploying it yet, so we still have close to 1.2 billion on the balance sheet.
Manish is laughing. Okay. Michael.
So first, I wanted to make a comment from Manish saying they look for bold management, and Ritesh said that he started the company when he was 19, and I thought I'd point out that I started the company when I was 65.
Okay.
So it turns out that bold management comes at all ages.
And you're bolding a little bit as well. So you're bold
ambition
management.
with a great vision and the energy and courage to execute that vision.
We've raised about 1.1 billion in 3 years. 1.1 billion.
1.1 in 4 years.
Unlike Ritesh, we're spending it quickly.
Okay. All right. Ritesh, you map the customer's journey from A to Z. So, and you refurbish the properties. So it's a multi-layer process. How do you use technology to actually keep control of standardizing the whole process from A to Z with those thousands and thousands of properties worldwide?
Sure, no, but before I begin, I should tell that I have known Michael since I was 18. Even before I started OYO, and he's been a great supporter of the company all throughout. Speaking about the end-to-end experience, technology is something, I keep saying that OYO hotels could not have been built in a generation where technology did not exist. Primarily because hotel industry has been very old school in nature generally, right? So if you see any of the hotel companies worldwide, majority of them are 100 years plus. The world's oldest companies are actually hotels. So, a lot of people in our team believe that the reason I started a business in hotels was so that once we become successful, it'll be very hard for anyone to shut us down because it just fundamentally runs for many hundreds of years. But that said, let me share some examples of how we use technology, which is fundamentally enabling us to scale very fast with consistent experience. And when I say consistent experience, here is what I mean. OYO's hotels in India have roughly 90% revenue from repeat and word-of-mouth customers. So we don't spend any money on marketing, literally. The reason why we can do that is as under. The first one is, for instance, pricing. Every hotel is supposed to have one revenue manager. We manage close to 12,000 assets worldwide. So the general expectation is we should have 12,000 revenue managers. We have 16 of them, and at least 4 of them have world records, and at least 1 or 2 of them have Guinness Book of World Records in the number of data science research papers they have written. So we do close to 80 million price optimizations every day, which close to 12,000 humans cannot ever dream to do together. That's one example of how we can use technology to grow very fast. The second is asset management. A traditional hotel chain like IHG or Accor, when they go and sign a lease or a franchise, they spend 10 months from the time of first meeting to sign the deal, because a local guy would go and hire a consultant who would do the data review, and then they would have 10 meetings to make the decision. Every OYO development guy has what we call is the Orbis app. In the Orbis app, we have data of hundreds of thousands of assets and locations, which means that if he goes to the location, it will show him that this is the current profit. This is the profit that it will be if the hotel is franchised or leased by us. This is the IRR, this is the yield, this is the ROCE, and so on. So his only decision-making boss is the mobile phone, and he can send the lease or the franchise contract from the phone itself. So we sign it in 10 days from the time of first meeting versus 10 months, of traditional hotel industry. Or renovation, where we have over 1,000 civil engineers our own warehousing and supply chain capabilities, which ensure that we actually renovate hotels like a factory system rather than that of every hotel being a special thing. That, of course, our design makes sure that each hotel has some unique attribute around it. These are, or for example, housekeeping. Every housekeeping boy, for the longest time, has been paid the same salary for 8 hours of work, right? It's unheard of that the top housekeeping guy is incentivized to work harder than, because if everybody's going to get paid the same salary for 8 hours of work, why would I work hard? But at OYO, every housekeeping boy is given a housekeeping app, which does two things. One, predicts which room should you go and clean first so you can do it faster. So you don't need floor managers anymore. This is deep sciences that is enabling it. But the second, which is even more interesting, is that for the housekeeping boys who are good, if they clean the room fast enough and update the photo, and if the customer gives a 5-star rating over a week, he gets more credits. So now it's amazing that the top housekeeping boys are actually coming up with smarter ideas to clean rooms faster, and those are becoming part of our training curriculums in our OYO skill institutes. We've created close to 100,000 jobs in India, 60,000 jobs in China, and inshallah we'll keep doing that in many other countries worldwide. But in this, every hotel has needed to spend 20% lesser because of this technology. So the people who are working, they get paid more, but the operating cost also reduces. But because the company is growing so fast, more and more people get jobs. It's win-win for everyone. These are the kind of things that simple technologies are able to reinvent in hospitality.
Michael, given your particular business model, you must have a certain perspective on where the future of construction and urbanization is going. What is your outlook?
Well, that's a big question because there's a lot of issues to that. We think about construction, as I said earlier, as a manufacturing problem. But a different way to think about it, a different way to talk about it, is to think about products. And there are many different kinds of products. There's single-family homes, there's multi-family residence, there's hotels, and so on. And what we're doing is trying to integrate architecture, engineering, construction, supply chain, manufacturing to create products that you can have computers design them and make changes and price them automatically and all these kinds of things, the technology initiatives here. The construction market, building construction, is a huge market. It's $8 trillion worldwide, and it's underserved. As we all know about capitalism, you take the cost down, the market gets bigger. And one of the things we're talking about here in the Middle East region, and it's true really in the United States and every other region, is that there's not enough affordable housing. And you talk about people are moving to the cities everywhere in the world. That's a natural thing. And cities are expensive. Land is expensive. Construction processes are expensive. And so what we are trying to do, what we're starting to do, is to take these technologies, develop products that are easy, low cost to design and build so that people can afford to live in the cities. All these people Ritesh is hiring, creating all these jobs, they need good housing. And they need good hotel rooms, and they need, good senior living facilities and schools and so on. So the idea here is to take the costs down through all these various technologies and therefore provide a better living environment or working environment for all the citizens in the world.
So we know here in Saudi Arabia, and they're trying to raise the home ownership percentage. I believe it's around 30% at the moment, and the target is to go up to 70%.
Right.
Do you see that your company comes in like a right fit with such aspirations, with quickly, getting those prefab homes
Yes.
ready in shorter times? Because that's a very big, ambitious goal that we've set here in KSA.
Yeah, it is. So it's somewhat complex. So it takes a partnership to do this because it takes land availability, it takes mortgages, right? It takes financing. What we bring to the party is we'll do things less expensively and much quicker. And in a partnership with the government and the financial institutions, we can make all this happen. That's right.
All right. Mishal, from your experience, how was it, or how difficult or easy was it to get your innovation started, get a patent, and go about doing that?
ممتاز.
What were the difficulties and challenges?
ما هي التحديات؟
طبعاً
ما
خلينا نتكلم أول
Let
حاجة
me
عن
first speak about investment and innovation in general speaking across the world. Then let's speak about at the level of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At the global level, first of all, a lot of investors started to invest in creativity and innovation more than before. 5 years in the past, there was a kind of investment innovation like $5 billion in the artificial intelligence. So this is a great trend in investment. Yesterday, we heard the speech of His Excellency of Bahrain that they have excellent investment in innovation. So these all indicators that tell us that investment in innovation over the coming time, that it will be increasing and growing. In Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have excellent infrastructure when it comes to education, and this is one of the great point actually, according to the most updated stats in the Ministry of Education. We have 8 million students, males and females, across the different levels of education and the school and university levels. I believe that this is a big chance, an opportunity for us, because the Saudi mind proved its own greatness, whether in the international exhibition. Every day we do see like Saudi young people gaining rewards, international rewards, and also we see them always distinguished as students. So we see that the investment innovation is so open and so great, helping to open new factories, new plants, and also investing in mines, building bridges between the different young generations across the different countries. And I believe this is a great opportunity. I have been through such an experience in the investment of innovation because due to my work in King Abdulaziz University, and we have excellent innovation opportunities. One of the most important innovation, which is a kind of challenge, the basic challenge, is to transfer or transform. When you have the patent, the most important thing is to produce the patent into a product that can be tangible in the market, that can enhance the knowledge. This is the biggest challenge. The number of innovations or inventions, if they are not translated to products that can enhance the knowledge economy, it will not be of great value. So I will not be ambitious to do so. Based on my work in the University of King Abdulaziz, and I have made one of the medical inventions. I am not a medical student. I was not accepted. I sat with one of the doctors, and we invented a tool for carving one of the cartridges for the doctors, and this was cooperated with the French companies, and we have also achieved this as a product, of course. The good thing about it is that we brought it here and just to show it to you, and this is one of the things that we changed this into a product. The best that this product has the logo of 2030 Virgin, so that we prove that we can export innovation knowledge to different countries of the world in addition to oil and gas. Excellent. Thank you so much. Manish, أنت لديك.
You've got that visibility across that portfolio. How do you go about enabling the collaboration between this myriad portfolio of companies in order to get synergies? Because maybe, Oyo doesn't have a visibility on Katera, maybe you can bring them together. How do you do that?
Sure. So look, like you said, we have the Vision Fund will eventually have maybe 70, 75 companies that it's invested in, maybe 80 companies. And what these companies are going to be, and the existing investee companies are they leaders in their field. So if you look at hospitality, Oyo is a prime example. If you look at construction, housing, Katera is a prime example. So what our portfolio companies have when we invest in them is they have access to another 75, 80 companies like them, their leaders, their CEOs, their management teams.
And you're enabling that access.
We are enabling introductions, we're enabling that access. We can suggest ideas, we can suggest products. So if Oyo wants to expand into Japan, we have an ecosystem and a network in Japan that can open doors. Now Oyo should want to expand into Japan. They should think Japan offers an opportunity, and if they do, we can certainly open a whole lot of doors. And then it's for Oyo and whoever we introduce them to strike their own commercial deals on an arm's length basis. So what we do and what we do enable our portfolio companies if they want to get into new geographies. We obviously have some investee companies in those geographies, which could serve as a good launching pad. If they want to get into new products, if they want to get into new tangential markets, we have probably some investee company that has some expertise in that. So this portfolio effect, and Ritesh can perhaps elaborate on this, what his experience has been being an investee company of the Vision Fund. I think this portfolio effect where you have access to the CEOs and top management teams of 75, 80 global businesses that are leaders in their field, all using tech, all transforming their industries, is incredibly valuable. And we make those introductions, we open those doors, but then of course it's up to the individual companies to strike whatever commercial deals make sense for both sides.
Ritesh, have you made use of those connections so far?
Oh, a lot. I think, Katera is a great example. We were actually just talking backstage, and we've been in discussions for the last couple of months. Hopefully, we'll have something in the coming, because as we speak, we are going to be renovating and constructing hundreds of thousands of rooms every quarter. And for that, we can either do it, through multiple vendors who are probably not the best in the space, or do it with somebody who's going to be the leader in construction worldwide, has some of the most efficient ways of doing it. So from our perspective, not just this, there have been multiple other examples. Like in China, we've had the opportunity to partner with a lot of investees of SoftBank Vision Fund. We are today the 4th largest hotel chain in China. The ability to do something like that without the partnerships and support that we've gotten from Vision Fund wouldn't have been possible. But the one thing that is very unique about Vision Fund is also the scale of ambition. I think, as an entrepreneur, you're always ambitious. You want to make a difference to people's lives worldwide. And I think in Vision Fund, we've been able to find a perfect partner who's as ambitious and can dream as big as we do, or probably bigger.
So Michael, as Ritesh is talking about maybe a collaboration of some sorts, but they're in East Asia, in India, in China, and we all know that construction is a very cyclical industry with very, very thin, razor-sharp margins. How will you drive profitability in such emerging markets, and where do you find the challenge? Is the challenges with supply chain management, probably?
Well, I should point out that historically, the construction industry has been very thin margin. That's not our plan, of course. Our plan is to use global supply chain, manufacturing strategies, and all of this stuff designed very efficiently so that
drive your costs down.
We can drive our costs down, still provide a below market cost to our customers, but then have something left over for us. So
that's definitely what Vision Fund is hoping for as well, right?
I think we're all hoping for that. And actually, we're already proving that. I mean, there's margin when you do things right. And the reason the margins are so thin in the business is because it's a cost-plus business, the way it's typically run. And that's not the way we do it. We provide a price, and then every dollar we save, we get to keep instead of passing that back. So, look, it's a global business where right now we're operating in the U.S., in India, and in the Middle East. And we have demand from all over the world. We can't go all over the world. One of the great things about the Vision Fund and what you're talking about, everybody working together, is we'll begin to work with Oyo in India because that's the place we are. But if we decide to go to China, why not start with Oyo? I mean, and because we have to make big investments when we go into a country. We have to put in factory, get supply chain, all that kind of stuff. And so we need launch customers as we go into countries. Here in Saudi, we have the Ministry of Housing and PIF and various groups here that we're working with. So when we go into a new country, we're going to go where SoftBank is, or where other SoftBank companies are, or like we just talked about, Oyo. So that is a wonderful way that we can all work together because we can't go everywhere. Might as well go where we have friends to work with.
But supply chain management, maybe you want to touch upon that, because that is a challenge if you're expanding globally. I mean, that's probably where your major advantage is, and this is where you're driving your costs down mainly. So how would you tackle that?
Yeah, look, that's a very good question. My background and most of the senior executives at Katera, our background is electronics manufacturing, which is a very tough business, making phones and inkjet printers and servers and all that. That is a very, very supply chain intensive business. So we had 25,000 suppliers in virtually every country in the world. That's not been the case for construction. And that's one of the innovations we're bringing to the industry, frankly. We have buying offices in China and India, in Mexico, in the US, Vietnam, so on. when we enter a market, as we're entering the Middle East now, then we have to go find out who all the suppliers are here. But then we want to bring this global supply chain. That's how this works. I mean, most industries, if you look at automobiles or electronics or aerospace, I mean, you have a global supply chain, and you buy the materials that are made best wherever they're made. And this is not an industry that has that capability, so it's one of the things we bring. Now, as we move into regions that don't have a very good supply chain, we'll also manufacture some of the components in the supply chain, but then we'll bring materials in from other places. And right now, we're looking at the possibility of building a real supply chain organization in the Middle East, not just for Saudi, but for Abu Dhabi and Oman and the other countries here. We think there's a lot to be done there. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Ritesh, so we were talking earlier about you expanding out of India and maybe even out of Southeast Asia. How has the funding you've received from the Vision Fund helped in that expansion, one? And two, how will you expand in global markets that maybe have other similar platforms? So maybe you don't have that competition nowadays in India, but if you're moving in another market, what has an existing platform? How are you going to face that competition?
Sure. So, I think speaking about capital, I have always believed in one principle, which is every overnight success is at least a 5-year-old story. So if you woke up today and said, hey, this girl or this guy looks like an overnight success, if that is sustainable, chances are the guy or the girl has been hard at work for the last 5 or 10 years. So that's the view that I take towards business and our mission as well, which means that whenever we go into a country, very similar to Michael, we need to forward invest in supply chain, in vendor management, in renovation, engineering, in development, and so on. And I think the capital that we have on our balance sheet with Vision Fund and multiple other shareholders allows us to think forward in terms of making investments which are longer term in nature in infrastructure like our skill institutes, our warehouses, our renovation systems, and so on. But that said, and R&D, I think Michael was talking about the percentage of revenue linked to R&D. I think we would have, even in hospitality, one of the highest percentage of revenue being invested in R&D in comparison to anyone else. So as a group, for instance, if you look at our revenue to bottom line, if you just remove our R&D expenses, we are very, very cash flow profitable on the bottom line. But we choose to continue investing in R&D because we think we would like to forward invest for creating great value in the years to come. Speaking about that, we've been able to do it successfully in many markets. For example, in London, our first hotel in Sussex Gardens went from 50-55% occupancy to over 90% occupancy in a matter of a month.
In 1 month? In
1 month. The reason is, in Sussex Gardens, all the other hotel chains like Premier Inns, etc., were all priced at 150 quids or 150 pounds a night. And all the unbranded ones were at 40 pounds a night. When OYO brandized them to equal or better quality as Premier Inns, we could price it at, let's say, 70 to 80 pounds, which is still cheaper than Premier Inns, but better quality. So for customers, it's a win. For the asset owner, he increases his yield. And of course, if the asset owner's yields increase and the customer gets a great quality of service at good price, we end up winning as well. So from there to even the Middle East, we're seeing great opportunities across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and of course, the kingdom. If you see Qasim, I'm not talking just the big cities like Dammam, Jeddah, and Riyadh. I'm also talking, and of course, the holy cities. I also believe that the smaller towns like Tafek, like Aba, like Qasim, a lot of these opportunities are very unique. They've had 80% assets being unbranded for the longest time. And if we can come in and create a great quality of living space, more people will start traveling who never thought of traveling, because now they get a reliable place at the right price point.
So the next time you're going to Abha, ladies and gentlemen, maybe you need to look for an OYO hotel down there.
I just wanted to add one point to this.
Go for it, Anish.
When we talk about how the world is changing and how technology is changing, right? So the one thing is, when I mentioned that you have to scale faster, you have to go global faster, all innovation is no longer US-centric or West-centric, right? We're seeing a lot of interesting business models that are emerging out of LATAM, out of China, India, the Gulf region, that are then being exported to the rest of the world. And OYO is a prime example of that. It's a business model that was formed, nurtured, got to scale in India, and now is expanding rapidly. Ritesh mentioned he's the fourth largest hotel chain in China. It's expanding in the Middle East, London. So that's the other thing to recognize. Innovation is getting very widely dispersed now. There is not one center where innovation comes and permeates to the rest of the world. It's sprouting in different places and getting exported to the rest of the world.
So probably that's the shift from west to east or north to south that everyone's been talking about in the last decade.
And
probably.
Oyo is a prime example of that.
Indeed. I want to ask you, okay, so you've mentioned 75 companies. What's coming in the pipeline for the fund in 2019? How many companies? What deals are you looking at right now? Any particular sectors?
So looking at, we evaluate, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but we evaluate many deals in the course of a year across different geographies, different sectors. So we're not focused on a sector per se or a geography per se, but what we are, as I mentioned, looking for is businesses using technology, rapidly growing, strong management teams that will fundamentally improve the quality of human life, right? And you can bucket our investments into three big categories. There's science-led technology, which is big data, robotics, AI. There's consumer-led technology, which helps us optimize or improve our daily lives. And then there is infrastructure-led technology, which would include things like energy, agriculture, construction. So yeah, constantly evaluating deals across sectors, across regions, but all with a very strong management team and a strong technology bent.
Looking forward to hearing more news from the Vision Fund in 2019. Mishal, I want to give you the last word here. What are your hopes for young Saudi innovators, given that Vision 2030 and what we heard yesterday from the Crown Prince about the strong will of the Saudi people? What are your hopes for on that front?
Of course, with His Royal Excellency Prince Mohammed bin Salman, may Allah safeguard him, and along with the Vision 2030 of Kingdom Saudi Arabia, I believe that invention and innovation will be so great, so expansive, and lots of authorities and bodies will be created and ministry will be created focusing on innovation and inventions. And we started this in the Ministry of Transport, and we have the Authority of Innovation or Innovation, and also the Ministry of Education will follow suit, will do the same to create more opportunities for the young Saudi investors, which can help a lot in the infrastructure of education. And I'm pretty sure that when we have investors locally and internationally and regionally in the land of dreamers, including all the dreamers across the world, whether inventors from Saudi Arabia or from different countries, would like to have cooperations, collaboration. We have seen the three cities that need a lot of innovation, creativity, different. Also, we have entertainment, Neom, the Red Sea. These places, these cities need innovation, and we need more inventors, more innovators across the different sectors. If I want to conclude of today's speech, innovation, if simplified, oversimplified, is three stages. The first one starts with gaming or play gaming, where you discover something by children, which is the first stage of innovation. The second one is passion, and our young Saudis are very passionate, and our ambition is this, the limit is the sky. And the third one is the objective, as His Royal Excellency mentioned yesterday, that the young Saudis in general, only put the objective, and then after that they can realize and achieve the objectives easily. So we as young Saudis, we can never know what is impossible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mishal. Thank you. Very inspiring words. And with this, we come to the end of this panel. I want to thank you all, gentlemen. Really interesting and intriguing conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just ask you to stay in your seats. It is my privilege here to have the last word of the FII 2018. We will watch in a few seconds the highlights of the second edition of the FII, and we all look forward to seeing you back here in October in 2019 at the Future Investment Initiative. Thank you all, and enjoy this show.
Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and friends, welcome to Riyadh, welcome to the second FII. Thank you for being here. I can tell you how we in BIF think of investments. We think of it domestically and internationally. Domestically, we think it's economic transformation for the kingdom. It's diversification, it's new jobs, it's new industries, it's localization. And internationally, it's how we are participating in the global economy.
This forum is about the future of the regional and global economy.
We have to accept the world is changing. We have to accept that technology is coming, and it's coming fast.
And I think partnership between sovereign wealth funds is a really great opportunity to move things forward.
So what we've been trying to do is to strengthen the state institutions, develop meritocracy.
We will be more active, in particular all these short cycle projects.
Oil and gas will continue to occupy approximately 2/3 of the energy mix 3, 4, 5 decades.
These agreements,
approximately 2/3 of the energy mix 3, 4, 5 decades.
These agreements, all of them, I think we have over 25 agreements that will be signed here today, will have a value of investments of more than $50 billion. That's $50 billion.
Impact of climate change is a focus area, and we will continue to reduce our carbon footprint going forward.
We have to create the culture across the board. The tone from the top is to embrace those technology.
Today, any company can cross-list in Saudi Arabia. I think being in this very attractive geographical spot in the world.
There's a lot of positives to this nascent stage of development.
We're in a world in which we are going to have, and we will speak about technology, the cleanest technologies ever, but we are going to come very close to climate disaster.
I think we need to do one thing: enrich our children's mind.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to be here with you at this session. We have a fantastic panel.
And it's a privilege to be here to address such an important topic that affects all of the 180 countries in the world where GE is privileged to do business.
What you are investing in when you invest in sports is the social and human capital, and that is the pathway to having a healthy global community.
And raises a lot of interesting questions.
Unless we can see real policies coming in from a regulatory standpoint or medical doctors being actually rewarded for outcomes.
En Afrique, les choses bougent. L'Afrique n'est pas seulement un continent du futur comme on a tendance à le dire. L'Afrique, c'est un continent du présent.
بالنسبة لي في هذه الحكومة
هو إنه هالوزراء اللي حيكونوا قيمين على هالوزارات يكونوا شباب، يكون في نساء.
We need to move from an oil economy to a smart oil economy.
كل مشاريعنا ماشية، الإصلاح ماشي، حربنا على التطرف ماشية، حربنا على الإرهاب ماشية، تطوير المملكة العربية السعودية ماشية. مهما حاولوا بكبح جهودنا لن نتوقف.
Today, the power that we must unleash in the Arab world is the power of innovation.
أنا أعتقد أن أوروبا الجديدة هي الشرق الأوسط. هذه حرب السعوديين، هذه حربي اللي أخوضها شخصيا، ولا أريد أن أفارق الحياة إلا وأرى الشرق الأوسط في مقدمة مصاف العالم، وأعتقد أن هذا الهدف سوف يتحقق 100%.